Welcome to the Bookers Alliance podcast, where we hold the pencil and the pencil is power. Coming at you right now is your host, Marky Mark, along with the man, the myth, the legend, Frank Donaldson. Join us as we discuss the ever-changing landscape of professional wrestling. So hang on tight, you jabronis, and enjoy the ride. Hey, welcome in, everybody. Thank you for joining today's episode of the Bookers Alliance podcast. Come on in the house, grab yourself a ringside seat, sit down, and let me talk to ya.
All right.
Frank, how we doing today, man?
Yeah. We're doing good. We're back in the saddle again. So the fans are back in the ringside seats. We're back in the saddle. It can't get no better.
Absolutely. All right. So today's topic, it's one of those things where you just have to be in the moment when you see oh my God, I can't believe I just saw that.
Oh, yeah. Those are the best moments in wrestling where something completely out of the ordinary, something that took you 100% by surprise, you know, where you almost jump out of your seat like, what in the world did we just... I mean, that's the most exciting part of being a fan.
And for this episode, I got to channel my inner Joey Styles. Oh, my God.
There you go. You got to get that out there.
Right,
or JR, oh, my God, they broke him in half. He's dead.
Speaking of that, so that is our first oh my God moment that we're going to talk about. Talking about Undertaker throwing Mick Foley off the cage in Hell in a Cell.
Oh my goodness. I mean, I remember where I was when I saw it. I
do too. It was on my birthday.
There you go. See, happy
June
birthday
28th.
to you. Almost watched a man die on your birthday. So, but no, I can remember seeing, and you know, that because they were doing the above angle when you did it, you know, and you just kind of saw his body go off. I remember thinking, like, did I just see what I thought I saw?
Yeah,
you know,
it took me a minute to register.
Yeah, it was one of those, because, you know, you didn't see the crash and burn. You just saw his body go off, and, you know, with that image, you know, it wasn't 3D, you know, unless you were there. I'm just like, wait, what? You know, then they started rewinding it and showed it from every single angle possible, and I'm just like, how's this guy still alive? I mean, amazing stuff, but scary as all can be.
Yeah, and knowing what we know now about how some of these things were done, if you go back and watch that match, watch the spot, no crash pad. That was
way
underneath.
Before that.
Yeah.
So I've always believed, I don't think everybody was in on it. I think there were
it was
a couple
Mick
of people
and
on
Taker.
it. Yeah, basically. I think there was a couple of people in on it, and everybody else is just like, well, we'll see what happens, because, you know, afterwards we saw Shane and Rikishi and a lot of other people go off the cell.
Yeah.
And they always had a bit, almost like a stack of mattresses under there. The crash pad was so big. Mick went through it hard way. So
yeah, he did went through it the hard way.
Literally, figuratively.
But I just remember the sound. I remember the call. I remember JR screaming on the mic, "Oh my God, they've killed him!
They broke him in half. He's dead." I'm like, yep.
And then the image you saw of Mick, you know, getting up, the tooth coming through his nose, all of that. So, you know, that was probably one of the best to me.
Absolutely,
one of the best. Oh my God moments.
Mm-hmm. Which crazy part of it, though. I mean, that wasn't even the only oh my God moment of that match.
Right.
Not too long later, they sent him through the top of the match onto the mat. Yep. And I think Mick actually said that was the more dangerous of the two, because he went through with the chair and he over-rotated, so he kind of came down more on his neck and shoulders than he was supposed to.
Yep.
And apparently he landed on the chair too, which knocked him out. So, oh my God.
Mick definitely had some crazy matches. That was probably towards the top. Let's talk about another match where Mick was involved. Edge.
Ah, yes.
So
yes.
Edge putting Mick through a flaming table.
Mm-hmm. I remember that well. That was at the WrestleMania I was at. So I remember, you know, Lita spraying it with lighter fluid, and everybody's like, that ain't lighter fluid. You know, we're just convincing ourselves that it's not going to happen that way, because we've never seen that WWE TV before. So we're like, that ain't lighter fluid. They'll figure out a way out of it. Well, then she dropped the lighter right in, and I mean, that thing engulfed. And I can remember being in the arena, feeling the heat burrowing off of that table, and I'm like, oh my God. Like, first of all, it's hot as hell, like literally as hell. And I'm like, you know, they ain't do that for nothing. They're not doing it for a visual for our purpose. Somebody's going through that damn thing. And sure enough, you know, Edge with no shirt on, you know, dove through the ropes and speared Mick, who had his traditional flannel on, right through the thing. And I mean, I remember both guys still being on fire when it happened. I remember Edge having to beat his arm to go out, and Mick was stop, dropping, and rolling. And I'm like, what did I just see? And they showed it on the Tron in there. They didn't have the old school Titantron, but they had the monitors up above the ring.
Right.
I can remember they showed the replay like they were showing it on TV. And as you look around the arena, I mean, everybody's heads were up, jaws were dropped. And I mean, we're like, you're not looking at me, but yeah, that's the visual I'm doing, because that's what every face in that arena looked like as we watched it. Just like, what in the world? Are these guys dead, or are they on fire, or what? And it just happened here. But yeah, I mean, seeing it in person made it twice as amazing as it would have been on TV. On TV, you get the benefit of replay and angles and stuff, but just seeing it in person, you can see how there wasn't no way they could job that out. You just got to kind of close your eyes and go for it.
So kind of sticking with, we had 2 for Foley. Let's do 2 for Edge. Edge spearing Jeff Hardy as Jeff hung from the belt.
There you go.
Off the top of a ladder.
Oh, yeah. I mean, again, first time. And I think that's really going to be a trend, because, oh, my God, moments are fabulous just as they are. But the first time you see something like that done, it stands out so much more clearly in your mind. We saw a lot of ladder antics previously, in WWE for the last up to 4 years before that, with Shawn Michaels, Razor Ramon, et cetera, et cetera. But no, you didn't see any of that. I mean, first of all, when Jeff was hanging there, that was already dangerous, because, if he had dropped, he could have broken ankle.
Well, I mean, back then, when they put the belts up there, I mean, they were up there.
Yeah.
They were at least a good 20 feet above the ring.
So you weren't, I mean, you couldn't jump up there and grab it.
Right.
That was,
wasn't doing it with a 12-foot ladder.
LeBron ain't dunking on it. You know what I mean? That was a long way up. So just seeing him dangling there, I remember thinking, oh my God, if he falls, he could hurt his ankle. He'd break an ankle, it twist something. So many things. Then when you see Edge dive off and tackle him out of it, what?
And
my God.
Not to mention when he speared him like that, the angle of which they were going down.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I thought Jeff's spine was going to shatter.
Yeah. I mean,
he wasn't taking a flat back bump.
No, he was just falling. He was just free falling, hoping for the best.
It was ugly.
And don't get me wrong, past that, we've seen Jeff take a lot of crazy dumb falls, but that being one of the originals was like, oh my goodness. And then Edge kind of came down on his knee and, kind of curved to the side. There's a lot of risk involved with that nonsense there, but I mean, it made for a lifelong visual that will never stop.
Never forget.
No,
never forget that one.
Not.
We got one that I put in here just kind of on the spur of the moment that came to mind. Brock ending Taker's WrestleMania streak.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
That's a definite. Oh my God!
You remember that dude's face?
Oh yeah, the eyes bugging out.
Yeah, I mean that guy was literally in awe of what he could. There was no belief of what he just saw. He was just floored at that. But I mean, again, if
all of us were.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you had an opportunity to look through the cameras the reverse way and see everybody's face on the TV, that's all you would have seen. I mean, I clearly remember Paul Heyman's face when it happened, as if he didn't know what was coming. He looked just like the bug-eyed guy. He was just like, But just a moment that you never thought you would see.
No, I thought I would see that man die or retire undefeated.
Absolutely.
At WrestleMania.
And, he had already beaten Brock. Brock had already beaten him. So, there wasn't a necessity for either guy to get the win. So, you're thinking, Taker's going to slay the beast and, proclaim that he's the all-time champ with the undefeated record. To see him go down and in a manner he went down. I mean, with the concussion he had, he looked beat up after that match. It's wow.
He did. Not
only is it wow that he lost, but wow, he got his ass handed to him out there that day.
I just remember being a lifelong Undertaker fan. I just remember it was like somebody punched you in the gut.
Yeah.
And you just kind of sat there and you were like,
in pure disbelief.
What did I see?
No way that happened.
I can't even get up.
No, it was done. Like you said, it was pure disbelief.
Yeah.
All you could think of, no way that just happened. Did the ref screw up? Did he accidentally count 3? But, then when they go through the replay, I mean, Taker laid there for 5. So, I mean, he could have continued. He could have gave the old Bundy 5 count on that one, and Taker would have. So, the ref didn't screw up. You knew it was real, and you're like, but no, but yes.
I was even hoping the Monday Night Raw after, they were going to come out and go, due to a technicality, we reversed the decision. I was waiting for something like that to
just
happen.
whatever you could get.
Yeah, just say he didn't lose.
Yeah. Now, I think you were holding on to that with Cody lost too this year, but unfortunately,
man,
those things do not happen here.
That wound is still open, man. Don't pour salt in that wound.
Now I just had to needle it just a little bit there.
All right, the next one we got on the list here is Kurt suplexing Shane through the pane of glass.
And I remember
more than one suplex.
I was going to say, I just remember being shocked they actually made it through.
Yeah.
Because after the third time of throwing him where he just bounced against the wall and then landed straight on his head, I'm just like, oh my God. Yeah. Do these guys really have beef behind? Like, is there some backstage rift that we don't know about where legitimately Kurt's going to try and kill the boss's son right on TV? What is this?
To hear Shane retell what happened, Shane felt like he was about to get killed because he said that third time Kurt just chunked him as hard as he could chunk him. And like nobody told him nobody told either one of them, you're on the wrong pane of glass.
Yeah. Bruce Pritchard said on his thing that it wasn't necessarily the wrong pane. He said what had happened was they put shatter glass up there that's supposed to go through.
They put the wrong glass.
No, they put the right glass in there, but they said when like the pyro and all that went off, they said the pyro was going off, it was breaking the glass because it was so shatter glass.
Yeah.
It was breaking it. So what they did was they put a coat of like lacquer paint behind it. That's why if you go back and look at it, it's really white back there, like it's all cloudy white looking. He said they went back there and they painted and they put so much thick paint on there that it actually held that glass together so it wouldn't break for the pyro, but it also wouldn't break at all. So Shane. It was just up there and it almost turned into an NBA backboard at that point because of all that coating they put on there. But yeah, so they were on the right one. They were doing everything like they were supposed to. That's why they kept going for it because they're like, there's no way I think like 2 of the panes were set up that way, so there was no possible way they could mistake this.
Right.
And they're like, something ain't right. But I know, so Shane was the one going through it. I mean, his life was on the line. But him and Kurt both have said in different interviews that, Shane kept telling him, no, we're going through it, keep going. Well, the last time he said Shane wasn't really answering, Kurt said Shane wasn't really answering with anything. So he said, come on, Shane, we're going one more time. We're going through it this time. And I remember Shane, he said, like you said, he felt Kurt swivel his hips and he got low on him. Yep. And Shane said it felt like a roller coaster ride after that because he said, man, when Kurt threw him, he said he was going through everything. He said, all to be damn that glass.
Yeah.
He said he thought he could have went through anything at that point.
I just remember watching the poor guy just get his head.
Yeah, the ones he didn't go through because, he couldn't put his hands up to save himself. He just had to try and twist a little bit. So, his head, his neck, his shoulders, they're all just going straight down on the glass, and then Kurt just gets up and looks at him like, what the hell? And they're like, well, we got to get through this spot. It's important. I'm like, well, till death do us part, I guess. You just keep trying till you get it. Yeah.
All right, moving on to our next one. Hogan turning and joining the NWO.
Oh, wow. That was so, oh my God, because up to that point, you'd never seen anything.
No,
like
Hogan was the say your prayers, eat your vitamins.
Yeah, he was the white meat baby face.
Absolutely.
He had never even had a thought of, heel turn in his system. It was, you put the company on his back. He's the company guy. He's carrying the flag. He's like you said, he's little kid's hero, all of the above. Then when you see him, you see people showering him in garbage and he's spitting on the fans and cussing them out.
Spray painting them.
You're like, what? What in the world? Who is this guy? But, it turned, that actually happening turned the whole wrestling industry on its ear.
It did.
There wouldn't have been a Stone Cold had there not been a Hogan going NWO there, because it was in the same vein of thought. There's so much wrestling that we wouldn't have had that not happened. We may have gotten there a different way, of course, but that was the catalyst to a whole lot of change in the business, and it generated a whole lot of interest through those Monday Night Wars.
Yeah, and I'll give Hogan props. Kudos to him for betting on that decision, because had that not worked out, that'd have been the end of his career.
Oh, absolutely.
That'd have been over.
Yeah, had he blew that, there wasn't no coming back.
No, there was no coming back.
The fans were already way over that whole red and yellow thing. Yeah. So, when he was able to come back, 8 years later in the WWE and revive, it was great then because, it was the nostalgia act and all that. But in that moment, the fans in both companies had been over that red and yellow thing. So, yeah, had he blew that, that would have been the end of Hulk. But doing it, he made him, that's why I still say he's probably the biggest icon in wrestling, because even while Stone Cold, they say, well, Stone Cold sold more merch, blah, blah, blah. like, for every Austin 316 shirt I saw an NWO shirt right next to it.
It's the same in my
And
eyes,
I keep trying to remind people, you have to attribute that NWO stuff to Hogan too.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you have to take all the red and yellow years plus all the NWO stuff. Nobody sold more merch than that guy. It's not possible. John Cena may have now. I mean, because he put out a Fruity Pebble shirt every month, but he may have now. But in that first 15 years, nobody could touch that because Hogan did it in 2 different companies.
So we'll stay on the same vein as Hogan, but we'll segue into Bash at the Beach 2000.
Ugh. So the highs and the lows of surprises. Yeah.
So we're going to talk about Bash at the Beach 2000. This was the ordered job of Jeff Jarrett to the one and only Hulk Hogan.
Yeah. I mean, they said Hogan pulled his creative control card and, and up to that point, I'll be honest, I thought he had pulled that 100 times. Now, Eric Bischoff said on his podcast plenty of times that was the only single time Hogan used it. And I'm like, if you say so, brother. I'm like, but I feel like there was a whole lot of, I'm like, I feel like there's a whole lot of that don't work for me is going on in that back locker room prior to that. It just seems like that was just like the culmination of it. Just like, okay, we're so over it. We're so done with this. We're being held hostage by the talent. And, we all know I love Hulk Hogan, but at the end of the day, I mean, he was holding the whole company hostage on what he thought was right, because we were going into his 6th year in the company and he was trying to get yet another WCW title. So it's like, goodness,
Yeah, as a fan watching it that night, I felt just detested. Like
the whole thing.
It was just gross. And I'm like, what am I seeing
when
here?
Jarrett laid down, when Russo was running around with the belt, when Hogan won it, then Hogan gets a mic before he pins Jarrett and cusses out the company. And I'm just like, ugh, what are we looking at?
It was like watching
here?
Somebody's dirty laundry.
Absolutely.
I mean, it was ugly.
I'll be honest, being a fan of both companies during the Monday Night Wars, up till that point, it was probably you switch here, you switch there. After that happened, there wasn't a whole lot of switching going on at that point. It was more of I'll catch a recap on Thunder.
WCW started going way down here.
Yeah, they lost a lot of viewership on that.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what didn't lose a lot of viewership. And that was our next oh my God moment. And as a young impressionable boy, the Sable oh my God.
Yeah, wasn't nobody turning the channel then.
No.
WCW could have had Hulk Hogan wrestle Jesus, and I would have been like, you know what? I can record it.
Yeah, I can record that.
Because when Sable came out there, I mean, just from everything in the sack, Sable in the sack. But
That's another episode.
Yeah, sorry, that wandered. But in the potato sack, let's clear it up. In the potato sack, I mean the handprints, just. Yeah. Even modeling the T-shirts, just everything she touched was gold. And
that was when WWE was trying to push the envelope as far as they could push it. And, you're trying to hold on to that 18 to 40, whatever the demographic is there. You're trying to hold on to that young man demographic. Mm-hmm. What better way to hold on to that demographic than to put a hot woman in front of their eyes? I mean, it was just who it was. And unfortunately, the one loser out of this whole mess is Mark Mero.
Because his career was supposed to be on the upswing.
Yeah, she totally upstaged him.
Yeah, no. Once they let her out of her shell and do her whole thing, everybody was like, they stopped even calling her like Rena Mero, and nobody even wanted to associate nothing Mero with that. So the one winner of it, though, who was also a young impressionable boy at that time, was right around my age, was Brock Lesnar. And apparently he liked what he saw long enough that he waited and went on and married her. So damn good luck to you, sir.
Get it, Brock. Go
ahead. Absolutely.
All right. Well, speaking of Brock, let's segue to one of his oh my God moments. Big Show and the Brock imploding the ring.
Yeah. So you mean when an actual implosion happens?
Well, when an actual implosion.
So when the spot that was set to happen and it happened. Oh, okay.
It happened. We'll get to that. I know where you're going.
That is amazing. I like to watch things string themselves along here, but but I mean, we never saw that before.
No,
not on purpose. We had seen ropes break before and
absolutely
mishaps happen.
Turnbuckles come off.
Yeah, but those were horrible. We never wanted to see those. Those actually were a bad thing.
Yeah.
This being a set set spot and going off the way it did. I mean, just remembering the ref flailing around, in the road, like he had no clue it was happening. I mean, he sold it perfectly.
Well, I remember the commentators even going, they've reinforced the ring for this match
kept
tonight.
Saying it, and that was old Gorilla Monsoon, a montage. He always talked about they had to reinforce the ring for these two behemoths. Things like that. Well, Gorilla rolled over in his grave that day when that ring imploded because he said, "Wait a minute, we reinforced the ring."
But yeah, when it happened though, you're sitting there watching it going, holy crap. Yeah. Like, I can't believe that just happened.
No, I mean, first of all, Big Show getting superplexed. You're like, what? That's impossible. But then you look at Brock like, well, if anybody could do it. But then when you see the ring explode like that, just bottom out and just dump the guys out of it. It's like, what in the world? Fabulous spot that they did.
So Brock was part of imploding a ring, but he was also part of raising a ring up and tearing it apart over a year ago at SummerSlam with a tractor.
Yeah, when he came in with the tractor. And again, same thing. He lifted it. He went all crazy with it. Yep. You see Roman flailing around out there, and you're like, what the hell's happening here?
This dude could do anything.
Yeah, he, like you said, he could implode rings, he could raise rings. I mean, hell, he almost had Undertaker powers here.
Well, speaking of one that didn't go the way that we thought it was going to go, the AEW Exploding Deathmatch.
Yeah. So again, the other end of the spectrum.
Yeah, the other end. This was an oh my god in not a good way.
No, this was an oh my god WTF moment.
Yeah, like head hung in shame moment.
It was oh my god, I can't believe I just sat here through this. That was kind of
oh my god, I can't believe I paid for this.
There you go. Oh my god, where's my refund? It's like this was false advertising. This was bait and switch. I mean, everything that you could possibly think of was in the negative was that. That was the worst. Oh my god.
Kenny Omega would have just paid the man what he wanted.
Yeah,
they'd have got it right.
Well, that's what happens when you're using a Ring of Honor ring, guys. There, the Ring of Honor. They don't like all that. No flips, no flips, no twists. Apparently, no pyro.
So if y'all haven't seen that one, don't waste your time.
If you haven't seen
YouTube it, maybe
you've done the right thing. Yeah, just YouTube the end. Don't watch the whole match waiting for it.
So this was supposed to be in relation to the 80s style Japanese death matches where there really was some cool pyro that was set up around the ring. The fans were really pulled back and they went into smoke bombs and all kinds of crap, making the ring look like, okay, this was a war zone.
Yeah, right. It looked like a war zone. I mean, I remember Terry Funk doing something like this over in Japan. He might have even done it in ECW, but I definitely remember he did it in Japan. 20 years prior, they did it without a hitch.
Yeah.
Here we are 20 years later with a $4 billion budget, and we got what we got.
Yeah, sparklers. 4th of July sparklers.
Absolutely. Well, so that ring actually had like a, it got up to the plate and it swung and it missed. So that's a perfect segue into our sponsor this week, Blue Chew.
Blue Chew.
when you step up to the plate and your bat just can't lift, that's Blue Chew. You get yourself a Blue Chew, and apparently you're swinging to the fences, but otherwise your bat's just limp.
You didn't know I was called Babe Ruth?
No. Well,
I didn't do a Blue Chew.
Without Blue Chew, you could have been Baby Ruth. So there's a lot of different ways you could go with it, but shout out to our sponsor, Blue Chew.
All right, carrying back in here. We were talking about ECW there all of a sudden. So let's swing into an ECW match where it was Bam Bam Bigelow versus Taz. And they both went through the mat.
Through the mat. Good Lord. I mean, can you remember that? I mean, you see those two. First of all, they're both built like little cars anyway. So, I mean, they're both stocky, chunky, heavy, whatever you want to call it. You see them two on it. You see Taz on Bigelow's back, and you see those two just jump and dive. And then all of a sudden, they're no more. That was another one of those. Hold on, rewind the tape.
Like what just happened?
Did they roll out of the ring?
Are they okay? Was that what happened?
Exactly. I remember in the moment. I mean, that was mid '90s. I was still young and impressionable. I didn't know that you could gimmick the ring the way you could.
Nobody did.
I thought that was just an F up because it was ECW, and I'm like, one of those guys is dead.
That was one of those bingo hall rings.
Exactly. That's what I'm thinking. I'm like, Paul's cutting corners here, cutting corners there, termites all living in the ring or whatnot. It kind of is what it is, but when you see it, it's just like, oh my God. Like I said, thinking it was an F up, I'm like, one of those guys is dead.
Yeah.
Somebody's really, really hurt, and the other guy, is barely alive. Then when you see him pull, you see Bam Bam pull Taz out and pin him, I'm like, whew, okay. They're both alive. They're still working.
They're alive.
But holy hell, God, that was some scary stuff, and I don't know how they talked them into it, but especially considering their paychecks probably bounced more than they did when they hit that floor.
All right, so kind of the last one here on our list. Both of us are belt collectors. Kenny Omega, you ain't got nothing on us, man.
Oh, no, absolutely.
You ain't got nothing on us, Kenny. I'm sorry.
Absolutely.
But so to us, the heavyweight championship belts, the women's belts, the intercontinental belts, the tag belts, those are sacred items.
Absolutely.
They mean something.
Yep. They're the face of the company. That's what everybody comes to that company for, is for that world championship.
A lot of history and legacy tied up behind those belts.
Yep.
And then for somebody to come along and just disgrace.
Just trash it.
Throw it in
Literally
a river.
trash it.
Throw it in a river.
Destroy it.
Throw it in a trash can.
I mean, just run off with it.
Spray paint it.
Yeah, spray paint it. Page it.
Oh no.
Yeah. Got my pop. Yeah.
Well, everybody, we weren't going there. But seeing as how we're already there.
It fits the topic.
Just Google it, ladies and gentlemen.
Absolutely. That's all you got to do. Page in the NXT Women's Championship
Just
title.
Google it.
The rest will tell you the story.
But the disgrace that has become to some of these belts over the years is just like, oh my God, did they really do that?
Yeah, I mean, I can remember the very first time I ever saw it was when Mr. Perfect took a hammer to the Winged Eagle Championship on Saturday night's main event. And we literally watched him destroy the belt. It's like, wait, what's happening here? You can't do that. I mean, no, that's impossible. But he did.
Yeah, that, and Stone Cold throwing Rock's belt into the river.
And
then Hogan spray painting the WCW World Heavyweight title, and then CM Punk, a la Hogan, spray painting the real AEW Heavyweight.
Only over the E though.
Over the E.
I think you pointed that out to me, and I was like, wait a minute, what?
Yeah, that's
I'm
interesting.
that was kind of ironic there, but okay, we'll take it at face value.
But yeah, some of the stuff that happened, Alundra Blaze throwing the belt.
That one.
Well, I will say one title fittingly was done when Nikki ASH tried to throw the 24/7 belt in.
Yeah, well, the fact that she missed.
But missed.
Yeah, I think that was maybe her last bit of respect, because she actually liked that title. She wanted to be, her and Dana Brooke thought they were actually doing something with that title.
Yep.
So I think Nikki just probably dumped it on the side so she could come pick it up later and take it on home with her.
Yep.
Have herself a little trinket that we'll be seeing on Most Wanted Treasures in 20 years.
But as you can tell, there's been so many oh my God moments throughout the years. That's what makes being a wrestling fan so fun.
Yeah.
It's just the element of surprise, the I can't believe I just saw that, or the I was there when that happened.
Mm-hmm. And the fact that you're just so invested in it that when it happens, it leaves this indelible mark on you. Like, it's ingrained in your, an image that's ingrained in your memory for life.
Yep. And there's so many more that we could go through, but we would be here all day. Some of the others that we kind of had on the list here, Bobby Spear and Umaga through the cage.
Yeah.
Marty Jannetty getting, put through the barbershop window.
Yeah, remember Undertaker levitating once upon a time? Where he levitated up to heaven?
Piper hitting
Jimmy Snuka with the coconut. Yeah. Morton Downey Jr. and Roddy Piper. Roddy Piper sprayed him with the fire extinguisher right in the middle of a WrestleMania once. I mean, like you said, this could go on. But this is what the comments are going to be for. So we're going to reserve the rest of these oh my God moments that you guys have for the comments, where you can fill us in on what you think, and maybe we'll have a little tit for tat. See if you got one, we got one.
Absolutely. So thank you for joining in to today's podcast. We've enjoyed it. Hope you guys have. And with that, everybody, we bid you adieu.
Deuces.
Today's podcast was produced by SBP. You can find our podcast on all major podcast platforms. Also connect with us on our social media accounts. Search for The Bookers Alliance on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.